I bring up some Matthew Berry theories on this show, like the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I have another one here. He's a big believer that names matter. Sometimes you just need a cooler name to get more notoriety. Like if TJ Sanders' name was Bullrush McIntyre, do you think he'd be in the top 20 of every mock draft? But instead he's TJ Sanders. So it's like, Eagles at 31, and this is good for him.
TJ Sanders is a good football player name.
It's not Azariah Thomas. Malachi Starks.
Malachi Starks is a sick name.
Colston Loveland. Jihad Campbell. Jahdae Barron. Ashton Jeanty. Armand Membu. TJ Sanders.
Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. Joining you guys for a very fun exercise. One that, mock draft season's officially here because now we're reviewing some mock drafts. One of our favorite in the business, the one and only Daniel Jeremiah, released his 1.0 version of the mock, and we'll sort of get into what DJ explains of how he goes about making these mock drafts in a second. But we want to review every single pick and talk about those picks that we like and our favorite ones, maybe some ones that we would change, maybe some ones that we haven't thought about before, but we'll get into all that here in this episode. Connor, it's so good to see you for the first time this week, my friend, as we have both been in the city of New Orleans for the last 4 days, and yet I have not seen you one time.
It's ridiculous. It feels hard to do. Hard to do. We work in the same convention center every day, all day, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And everybody comes up to me, I saw Trevor. I'm like, that's cool. I haven't since Senior Bowl somehow. And here we are doing a podcast together. Unbelievable. What a shit show this place is. I love it. I really love, like, New Orleans is, and I'm like, not a city snob, but like I'll critique cities. I don't know, whatever. This place is unbelievable. Lovely people, 10 out of 10 food, a lot of fun. I'm going through a little bit of the reaping sowing meme though, Trev. I had a really fun Wednesday night. I was out. Sims and Florio did a show. We went as a company, and there's a lot of great people there. Met some lovely stock exchange listeners there, and when I went to leave, because me and Chris were meeting up with the old BR folks, Super Bowl's just like all getting together. I was like, let me slam this Modelo down, then we can go. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's New Orleans. Like, you just walk. So I'm out having fun, drinking a beer, walking around. And then the next day when it was time to work, like everyone else is doing that. And I'm like, wait, this sucks. Like, I need to work, and all these people are having fun now. So, awesome place, man. It is really a lovely town for a Super Bowl.
Dude, I love New Orleans. I know Bucs fans are going to hate me for saying that because there's a big Bucs-Saints rivalry that goes on here. But I tweeted this out, and I feel like it had a little bit of controversy just because it's a food take. But New Orleans, in my opinion, best food city in America. Like, it's
in the running for sure. I'm hard flavors, to stack it up.
The different dishes. Yeah. I mean, it's
variety probably makes them number one. And I say this as someone from New York, where we have like a lot of pride in our food scene. But
right,
man, they got a good chance here. I haven't had a bad meal this week. I'm serious. I have not had a bad meal.
1,000%. Dude, I even had barbecue last night, and I was like, okay, is it the best barbecue I've ever had? No, but it was like an 8.2 out of 10. Like that's some solid barbecue for a place that's not really known for barbecue. So shout out to New Orleans. I also love the city. It's just a phenomenal place to visit for a short or long period of time. It's a really cool city to host the Super Bowl because a lot of stuff is walkable. You mentioned the convention center, all that kinds of stuff. But it's, all right, I'll say it. So the reason why we're not recording this episode in person with beautiful Radio Row behind us and all the craziness that is because, quite frankly, I need the NFL to figure it out. This is your biggest media event of the year, and I cannot use the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is unusable, and it was also unusable last year when we were in Las Vegas. So we're coming to the city to make content for you. Connor and I are trying to do one of the few podcasts that we can in the same spot. And you're holding us back, Roger. Come on.
I don't even think they have two gerbils running on a hamster on a hamster wheel powering the Wi-Fi. There's got to be some. I'm ready to, like, there's a lot of curtains at the convention center because people have all, like, the production equipment hidden and all this stuff. I'm ready to just pull one, and there's just, like, some little creature on a bike powering the internet. And that's why all of us can't send back any video, can't record a podcast. I had the other day one of our employees in NBC, because they were doing a lot of social content. They're like, I can't send anything back. What's going on? I was like, just out of my own curiosity, like, just, give me a speed test on the computer, and they hadn't done that yet. Not even 1 megabyte. Not even 1 fucking megabyte. At a media event that everybody's relying on the internet.
The event of the year.
Of the year. There's people from every country here covering the Super Bowl.
We might need to get Mike McCarthy in on it somehow. We might need it.
Yeah. The 33rd team could consult on this issue. They helped the Jets find their next people. We got to bring in the 33rd team. We need Mike McCarthy. Somebody find Charlie Casserly. We got to get the big names.
They got to figure this out.
This is a problem.
We've got
this is a problem.
One way or another. Where's the Super Bowl next year? I don't even know. That's too far.
It is in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Hey, San Francisco should be closer.
Start now.
To the just start installing FiOS just right now. That's what
fiber optic.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
I want to plug my computer straight into a fiber line.
Yeah, I want to be able to play EA College Football at my hotel, at the convention center. I want to bring my PlayStation 5 to the NBC set and have it operating with no lag.
That's actually next year's NFLSE episode. It's just going to be us playing one-on-one. Actually, it's us on the same team, 2-on-2, and then we play somebody else 2-on-2 in NCAA football.
It would actually be a goldmine table. Like, people if you haven't been to Radio Row, once in a while people try to have a unique setup to, get good guests because all these legends are walking around. I saw a golf simulator today. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, there's a golf simulator at Radio Row.
Let me guess. Either Mike Renner set it up or is running the booth himself.
Right. That's a really good guess. Excellent golfer. Has to be him.
Dude, I asked Mike a couple weeks ago, by the way. I know this is very random, but shout out Mike Renner. And he's a draft analyst, so this works. You can't tell us that we're not talking draft.
No, this counts. This absolutely counts.
This absolutely counts. You can't get on us. Mike said he's like a 2 handicap right now.
And he might be on the PGA Tour soon.
He might leave this draft world behind for greater pastures, as we've seen. People can be. So, anyways, we obviously wanted to give you guys some content. I recorded a Myles Garrett trade destination episode earlier in the week, which you guys can check out. But we wanted to give you some draft content. We are going to get back to the player rankings. We promise. We've said the interior defensive line's coming. I've watched a handful of prospects in my free time when I've had a little bit of downtime here. When the internet's allowed me to. And so we're going to get to that next week. We'll give you those rankings, and we'll continue those as we get into our pre-combine coverage. But today we wanted to have a little bit of fun. Wanted to get into the mock draft realm once again. And, Jeremiah is one of our favorite dudes. We've both had the opportunity to meet him in person, be on the Move the Stick show. I've listened to Move the Sticks for 10 years. It's a big part of why I am a draft analyst. And so, getting to sort of analyze how he thinks. And this is one of the most plugged in guys when it comes to mock drafts, which means a lot because I know a lot of people don't read the paragraph that comes before the mock draft. But it's actually important sometimes. This is what DJ said in front of his, okay? I tend to base my mock drafts on what I am hearing around the league, whereas my top 50s, I rank those prospects and reflect that on what I'm seeing during my own evaluation. So keep an eye out for those rankings in the days ahead, which he has released his top 50. You guys can see that over at NFL.com. But for now, here's my first look at the top 32 and how it could play out when the draft gets underway April 24th in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So this mock draft, I very briefly looked at it right when it came out, but I didn't devote a ton of brain power to it. I kind of was seeing okay, this player. But
same.
Now we actually get to analyze it. So what we're going to do here on the show, we're going to go 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, and we're going to go in increments of 5. And we won't deeply break down every single pick, but we'll pick out a couple within those 5 that we really want to talk about, the picks that we like, or even if it's chalk, say, hey, all right, we got a pretty good idea of what the league might be doing here at this point in time before free agency, before the combine, all the good stuff. So let's jump into it. Let's jump into it right now. At the very top, I think we got a talking point. So I'll read them off, though. I'll go 1 through 5. I'll stay true to what I said we were going to do. Tennessee Titans, number 1 overall. Edge rusher, Abdul Carter at the very top of this draft. Cleveland Browns at number 2 going Travis Hunter. Number 3, the New York Giants taking Cam Ward. Number 4, the New England Patriots taking Will Campbell. And then number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. Connor, where do you want to start here with this top 5?
Well, I think one, no Shadir Sanders in here. And to be fair, he's at 6, the Raiders. But
come on, don't spoil it, man. We haven't gotten there.
Yeah.
Now people are just going to turn it off.
They're done.
They just wanted to know where Shadir was, and now they're gone.
Like they haven't opened this.
They had to listen to us bullshit
times.
about the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Week
New Orleans,
for
the
8
internet
minutes.
and drinking in the street. Oh man, that's why you're all here. Well, thank you for your subscription. Like and subscribe. I mean, listen, Abdul Carter at number 1. Like Tennessee, this is one of those ones where I just am fascinated to see what happens in free agency. Because I'm not of the belief Tennessee can go into next year and just go, hey, we're going to give the Will Levis thing another shot. Like, to do this with Abdul Carter, I would think that they either made a play for Sam Darnold or did something at quarterback that opened the door for them to take Abdul Carter here. I am of the belief that Cam Ward has a likelier chance to go here, but I think it kind of highlights just how, like from a talent perspective, how highly valued Carter is in the league, and a lot of teams think he's the best player in the draft.
Yeah, I think that this pick here, what it signals to me the most is that I think most teams in the NFL are going to have Abdul Carter at number 1 overall on their board. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that he's going to go number 1 to Tennessee, because it really only matters what Tennessee has on their board for who goes at the very top. But it does open things up, because if it's not Tennessee, sort of bringing this into a grander quarterback conversation, if the Titans have maybe gotten a new quarterback in the building that they're okay with, they might say, let's trade this pick. Right? There's a lot of teams,
like a Giants situation.
There's a lot of teams that are picking a little bit further down, like the Jets, the Carolina Panthers, the New Orleans
Raiders.
Saints, the Raiders, obviously, and like those teams could all be Those teams could be trading up for a quarterback if they wanted to. You know, like the Giants, the Raiders. Those are the teams that you were mentioning that could trade up for a quarterback. But if Abdul Carter is seen as this top tier prospect, the guy who's number 1, well, now all of a sudden you're talking about, do the Chicago Bears trade up from 10? Do the Panthers trade up from number 8? Do the Saints trade up from number 9? Do the Jets want to get another edge rusher, given Jermaine Johnson, coming off the injury and how the D-line kind of struggled last year? Like, would they even entertain moving up to number 1 to go get Abdul Carter there? So that's the bigger conversation for me, and the bigger takeaway, I guess I should say, is the quarterbacks might not garner a high trade down price or a trade up price, but Abdul Carter might, if he is universally looked at as the number 1 prospect in this class.
I'm with you. There's definitely a world where he's valued as a game-changing player, like a wreck the game, top edge rusher, the athleticism, the production. We have to just keep an eye on this guy every play we run. He has that kind of ability. And Travis Hunter at 2, you could argue is the same way. Like when Travis Hunter's out in the field, you typically don't really want to throw his direction. When he's out there on offense, you got to be very aware of where he is in space, getting the ball and making a game-changing offensive play. So I don't think the draft is going to go Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, 1 and 2, but it will be surprising, all the rankings people read and the ones we do, if my number 1 and number 2 players in some order are not Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And I think, again, it is worth echoing. DJ does these mocks with his ears, as he says.
Right.
He's doing this with what he is hearing. And what he is hearing, because I don't disagree with you. It feels odd to think that quarterback won't be a pick here within these top 2 selections. But at this point in time, before free agency, it sure sounds like what he's asking around the league. Maybe we can sit here and say that we don't think this quarterback class is like 2022 with Kenny Pickett going number 19 as the first quarterback off the board. But maybe NFL teams think it's a lot closer than that to what we originally thought. With none of,
right.
I mean, Tennessee is desperate for a quarterback. Cleveland is desperate for a quarterback. The Giants at 3, and obviously they take a quarterback.
They have
so
to
we'll get
have
to that in a second. Like, desperate for a quarterback. And yet, only one quarterback off the board within those picks.
Right.
So it's just something very interesting to think about there. The Giants going with Cam Ward. Again, I think, like you said, like that's sort of an obvious. We don't have to spend too much time there on that one.
No.
New England Patriots taking Will Campbell, though. DJ.
Well, you have to think he's a tackle, right?
My man.
If you do this.
I see you. We did the offensive tackle episode, and you kind of talked about how you are a little bit more torn on the best position for Will Campbell, on whether or not it's on the interior. And if you have those worries about him being more of an interior player, are you taking that guy in the top 5? Probably not. But if you think he's a tackle, like you just mentioned, then that comes into play here with him going at number 4.
Yep, that's how I would look at it. If obviously, and when like the little players listed with his school and position, it says OT. So I guess right now I would assume DJ is thinking offensive tackle for Campbell. And the Patriots become a really intriguing trade-up spot if Shedeur Sanders was still on the board, where what if the Raiders want him? Everyone knows it. And what if, I'll just spitball names, the Saints at 9. You kind of get further down the board and wonder, like even a Seattle at 18 thinking long-term. You never know. I'm just spitballing.
Right.
Can they auction this pick and still get Will Campbell? There's a world where they can, and I think that makes a lot of sense, just like number 5, Mason Graham. I mean, Graham and the Jaguars is a fit you will see pretty consistently throughout the mock draft process, I believe.
Yeah. I believe I'm with you. And again, the takeaway here is this is sort of more of what DJ is hearing. And if he's going Will Campbell as an offensive tackle at 4, it makes me think that he has talked to enough teams that believe he's going to get a shot there. And a better shot, we should say, than Peter Skoronski has gotten in Tennessee, right? Because that's the conversation that you and I have had on this podcast is, are we looking at Will Campbell like he's another Peter Skoronski? And this projection tells me that DJ has heard more of no. It's not that same thing, or at least it's not the way that Tennessee viewed Peter Skoronski. It is more giving Campbell the benefit of the doubt for him to be able to play offensive tackle, which I think is worth noting sort of within this draft class. You mentioned Jacksonville going Mason Graham. It's a pick that makes a ton of sense. Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Arik Armstead, Mason Graham. It's got the potential to be the best defensive line in the NFL. So that one, you love to set it up like that. Now going 6 to 10, rounding out the top 10 here. Las Vegas Raiders, you mentioned. You ruined the teaser.
I spoiled it.
Spoiled it.
The whole podcast. I ruined it.
Shedeur Sanders going to the Las Vegas Raiders there at number 6. Number 7, Tyler Warren to your New York Jets. I got to hear what we think about that one in a second. Carolina Panthers going Tetairoa McMillan at number 8. New Orleans Saints going Mykel Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia at number 9. The Chicago Bears going Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama at number 10. So we can start at the top. You need to hit on Shedeur. That one's kind of an obvious one with Las Vegas.
Right.
Obviously having that connection with Shedeur there. It makes sense that they're taking a quarterback. So you can give me your thoughts on that. But then I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Jets and Tyler Warren at number 7.
Yeah, I mean, with the Jets here, you get a true inline presence that can run the seam, that can help your run game. Really tough player. The size is real. Like he's a real throwback kind of tight end. And you kind of build your offense where Garrett Wilson's the number 1 and Tyler Warren can be the number 2 or number 3, depending on what else your offseason entails. He's the kind of player, like I'm going to talk about DNA a lot with Aaron Glenn, and I think that's a Dan Campbell thing. And Warren has the DNA that the Aaron Glenn-led Jets, because Glenn is at the front of their scouting now too, even though they hired Darren Muji. Like Glenn is a Parcells guy, which means I also pick the players. Tyler Warren just fits the mold of the player they are going to look for to be a heavier, tougher football team. Yeah, he's one of the best players in the draft, in my opinion, too.
Yeah, and if you're thinking, the Detroit Lions sort of tie and how they've built that team, and if you think it's going to be a similar mindset with Aaron Glenn there with the Jets, you think to yourself, man, look back at the Jack Campbell pick and the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, right? And it's these picks that at the time we went, what are you doing? You're taking football players.
Laporta felt early-ish, like a smidge early.
Who did?
Laporta.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. You're taking these players that you go.
You just believe. You have conviction.
Yeah, it's like, all right. Well, on the outside looking in, you go, really premium position players. You're kind of drafting them with premium assets. They're also not like, they weren't all big team needs. You just believed in the football player. And the best part about what the Detroit Lions have been over the last couple of years is that their regime has been given enough time to where you get to pick best player available.
Yep.
The ones that line up with your coaching staff and your culture. And guess what? Now you have one of the best rosters in the NFL.
That's it. It's like the Eagles, man.
100%. And it's a reason why they're here in the Super Bowl in New Orleans. So I'm not saying it works every single time, but this pick is a lot less crazy when you sit back and you do think about it like that. Not so sure it happens, but it's not as crazy as you think. The Panthers going with Tetairoa McMillan. I was on local Carolina radio, WFNZ. Kyle Bailey does a great job covering the team. And we were talking about, okay, what do they do at number 8? And he talked to me about a couple of edge rushers. And I think they're going to go defense. But I said to him, I was like, there's one player that I would take if I'm Carolina that's not defense. I wouldn't entertain any other offensive player other than this one. And it's Tetairoa McMillan. Even Tyler Warren. I would consider Tetairoa McMillan if he makes it to them at number 8. DJ has him going with T-Mac there at number 8. Mykel Williams getting into the top 10. And then, dude, Tyler Booker going 10 to the Chicago Bears. And his analysis is a little one-sentence analysis, 2 sentences actually. I think Booker is one of the safest picks in the draft. He will help firm up the interior offensive line for Caleb Williams. And I'm paraphrasing this a little bit, but somebody had responded to him about this mock draft pick on Twitter. And DJ basically said, when the people at Alabama call you the Will Anderson Jr. of the offensive line because of your work ethic, because of your football IQ, because of your leadership, and he was referencing Booker. He's like, you can't just like take that lightly. So, man, seeing Booker at 10, your thoughts here?
I mean, obviously Booker's a really good player. We've spoken really highly of him. I know we have not done guards in a while, but over summer we spoke really, really highly of him. Mm-hmm. He was in my top 25 in the big board I did right before the season launched. I could change my opinion on this when we really do the deep dive again on interior offensive line. He has Armand Membu going right after him at 11. I'd probably take Membu and just play him at guard if I felt like I had to do this. I think Membu is just phenomenal. The tape was elite, but it's not egregious. What people have to remember, because there's a theme here: Tyler Warren at 7, Tyler Booker at 10, and Jeanty at 12, which we'll get to in just a second.
God, he's
ruining
the whole episode, folks.
I don't care. Yeah. Want me to spoil The Godfather while we're sitting here as well? Start spoiling random movies. Shawshank Redemption, he actually gets out and goes to Mexico. And Red makes it, and they reunite. So, how do you like that one?
Shutter Island's all in his head.
That's too soon. That's too soon.
That's too soon. When did the movie come out?
I only watched Shutter Island like a year ago for the first time. Yeah, but I kind of knew. You know how? When he gets there in the beginning of the movie,
hold on, spoiler alert, just fast forward past this if you haven't seen it yet. But go ahead.
Yeah, the way all the workers look at him was a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
When he gets off the boat, they all look at it. They keep the cameras on their reactions towards him. And I'm like, oh, they know that he's absolutely out of his mind.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not a genius. I just kind of picked up on that's weird. So, anyway, the spoiler of this mock draft is the guys like Jeanty at running back, Booker at guard, Warren at tight end, all top 12 picks in this mock draft. It's not a great draft. So teams, according to DJ, and I think he would know, are just taking the best players. They're like, you know what? I want a great player in the draft. And if he doesn't play quarterback or edge rusher, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't hate it. I respect it. Remember when everybody was like, how do you take Jahmyr Gibbs at 12?
I don't know. Conversation.
It's pretty good.
Look, Here's what I would say. I just did Booker's final eval. So I went back and I watched 4 games of him, did the full eval on him. I came out with a second round grade on Tyler Booker.
Okay.
And so if he is, and now I think he is a good player. Like, I think he is going to be a really good guard, a really good football player for a long time. I love the intangibles as well. Like, I love everything that he brings you in that regard. He's built exactly the way that you would want a guard to be built. He's not overly athletic. He's coordinated when he's on the hoof, but he's not somebody with elite footwork. The feet can be heavy. You can see guys get across his face sometimes a little bit too easily. It's a little bit more easy than you want it to be to attack either shoulder and for him to really turn and be able to mirror and move guys away. And so, like, there are some athletic limitations that I think he has. If I thought he was a Quentin Nelson type of a prospect, I probably wouldn't have that big of a pushback to this. I just don't quite see Booker like that. So that's sort of where it comes from for me. So
go off, King.
Yeah.
One note I want to shout out in this.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we could be brief on this. Mm-hmm. He snuck this in. Michael Williams at 9. He says he played hurt all season long. Okay, that's like a giant variable because I think Michael Williams' film puts you to sleep. But if he has all these tools and he had a serious injury and we don't know what it is in this, well, it kind of changes things a little bit. I still am not taking Michael Williams top 10, but I thought that was a line in there that, like, you got to read and be like, okay, what does that mean? So keep that in mind with Michael Williams and maybe why teams like him more than, people like myself do.
I think that's a good shout out. And he had, I think it was the ankle injury at the beginning of the season, and maybe he missed a couple of games for it. But
yeah, maybe that is what he's alluding to, and it was nagging him throughout the year.
But here's the other thing. Like, we were told that Georgia was going to play Michael as more of a true an outside linebacker edge rusher type of a player. And he played more defensive end once again this year than he played true stand-up outside linebacker, where he graded as an elite player in the bowl game that they played against Florida State the previous season. And people go, wait a second, Michael Williams was phenomenal in this game, and he was great getting into the backfield. He looked much better as a pass rusher. What have you been doing? And we were told, they were like, that was kind of like roster necessity. We're going to play him much more as a stand-up outside linebacker, edge rusher next year. They didn't. They didn't. So I think a lot of people went into the season thinking that they were going to be able to see this from Michael Williams, and Georgia didn't even do what they said they were going to do. And I still think that he is more of a true, like, edge rush player, and they played him as like that 4-eye defensive end a lot. It's a little bit like the Will McDonald conversation that we have had before. So I will not be shocked if Michael Williams still goes within the top 12 and potentially right here. I think he's the Saints type of a player. So before we get to the next batch of players, if you haven't signed up for Pick 6 yet, guys, what are you doing? You got to get on it. You're running out of time here. There's only one game left. As the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL, DraftKings is fantasy sports like nobody else. You can play for better payouts on Pick 6. It's super easy to get started. You select 1 or 2 players. It's 2 or more players. Just say if they'll have more or less of a single stat. That's it. Available in California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, so many more states. They're making it even sweeter. If you waited this long and you haven't signed up yet, well, if you play $5 on whatever your first set is, you're going to get 50 in Pick 6 credits right there. Big games here. Chiefs, Eagles. I think Saquon Barkley's going to go off. Check the line. See what his carries total is. See what the rushing yard total is. You go more. If you think the Chiefs are going to bottle them up, you can go less. There you go. That's one. You just need one more. Win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Use promo code PFF. That's promo code PFF for new customers to get $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problems with gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonuses awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire within 30 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. San Francisco 49ers. Next batch of picks here from Daniel Jeremiah's mock, which you can see over at NFL.com. 49ers, Armand Membu, the offensive lineman. from Missouri. Interesting enough, lists him as an interior offensive lineman. It says IOL next to his name. Very interesting. Dallas Cowboys, Ashton Jeanty, running back from Boise State. Miami Dolphins, Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle from Texas. Indianapolis Colts, Jahdae Barron, the corner from Texas. And then number 15, the Atlanta Falcons, Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, lasting all the way to 15. I think this is the longest I've seen Will Johnson last in a mock draft. So, all right, you talked a little bit about M'Bu. I think it's very interesting that he has M'Bu as an interior offensive lineman. M'Bu played offensive tackle from Missouri. When I first watched him, like in the mid-season, so it's a little bit more of a speed watch when I'm doing things in the middle of the season. It's not a full eval. I also thought he was an interior offensive lineman. And I thought that it was going to be a switch and a projection for him to move inside. And then I do the final eval and I go, you know what? Okay, I see some tackle traits here. I'd stay at offensive tackle. And he was your offensive tackle one when we went through the early offensive tackle ranking. So what do you think about him at 11? Obviously, that's great and probably in line with sort of what you thought of him. But interior offensive line is where he's listed at.
I think the last mock draft I wrote, I had him at 10 to the Bears, and I thought he could play tackle or guard. Mm-hmm. Daniel Jeremiah compares him to Elijah Vera Tucker, who has played tackle successfully for the Jets before, but they have had him settle in now at right guard because they've gotten some more solutions along their line where he doesn't always have to just kick out to tackle when someone gets hurt. I like M'Bu a lot. I think he has the length to play tackle. I have you just take him, and wherever you need him, he could play. He's just that gifted. That's why I would take him instead of Booker at 10. Side note here, since Jeanty's in this list, I had him on the set today.
Oh, yeah?
And let me just say right now, one of the most impressive people in this class. No matter who else I talk to, it's just going to be hard to top Ashton Jeanty. He is, we know how good he is, right? Because the film doesn't lie. And then you're around the person, and you're just like, oh, there's no chance you're not going to, you're going to be a great player for a very long time. You're so advanced from a pro, a mental standpoint as a pro. You're so physically gifted and so aware. You have such high expectations when you talk to guys, or you're about to talk to guys like that. Like you see him on the sheet for the day. It's like, oh, cool, Ashton Jeanty. I can't wait to talk to him. And they just blow away your expectations, which is so hard to do. Where I think when teams meet with him, I don't think they'll care that he's a running back. I think he's just going to go in the top 12 picks because he's arguably a top 3 player in the entire draft. And he's a top 3 person in the entire draft. And it's like, okay, cool. Why this guy can change our entire offense on his own. So I know there's going to be a lot of combos with Jeanty. Is it too early? Is it this? But he's a special, special prospect.
I was going to say, you want to play a game?
Yeah.
How high? What's the highest Ashton Jeanty could go in this draft?
Ashton Jeanty could go number 2 overall to the Browns. He won't, but he could. He can go number 4 to the Patriots. He can go number 5 to the Jaguars. He can go number 6 to the Raiders. He probably won't go 7 to the Jets because they like Brees, but I know Lance Zierlein put him there, which says a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, when people watch Jeanty, they'll be like, oh, well, we can't miss on this pick. We won't miss on the pick, the player, the person, and this draft is kind of, doesn't have it's not loaded with difference makers. Where I'm for the longest time, I had trouble finding a place for him because I was like, teams just won't want it. The running back class is too good. They'll wait. Mm-hmm. Then you look, it's a Dallas at 12. It's how do you pass on him? How do you pass on him?
Dallas feels like the floor now at 12.
It does. It really does. I've changed on this.
I think there's a realistic possibility he goes 4 to the Patriots.
Yeah. Right?
I don't think
build the run game. It's Mike Vrabel too. Let's keep that in mind.
Right. I don't think he's going to. I don't think.
No. I don't either. You asked me the earliest. There's just a world, but the Browns will take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter or a quarterback.
But I think he could go 4 to the Patriots.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Vrabel had a lot of success with a guy like Derrick Henry. Don't know if you ever heard of him. And he understands what a great running back can do for your team. How he could be their entire offensive identity. And I don't even say that from Mike Vrabel, ground and pound, old school football, bash your head against the wall type of a thing. No, he just understands when you have a player who is this talented out of the backfield, everything that they can do for your team. And if an offense has Drake May and Ashton Jeanty moving forward, you can figure out a lot of the rest of the stuff, You figure it out.
Yeah, you have an identity.
Yeah. Anyways, Dallas Cowboys go Ashton Jeanty. We get Kelvin Banks Jr. to the Miami Dolphins. It feels like a perfect fit with how athletic he is. He can play offensive tackle. He can play offensive guard for you. Jahdae Barron is very interesting for the Indianapolis Colts. They really need a cornerback. We often see Tyler Warren go off the board here. If not Tyler Warren, sometimes Colson Loveland. But Barron, this is the first time that I've seen this one. Falcons then going Will Johnson. I think this is where the conversation really needs to be had with this next batch here at number 15. DJ says Johnson is a polarizing player around the league. He provides size and production, but some questions emerged about his tackling and top speed in 2024. I also remember us talking about Will Johnson in summer scouting, not thinking that he was the fastest corner in the world. But that really didn't. But we haven't gotten to corners yet. And I know Johnson was hurt this year. But I cannot remember the top speed being an issue to the point where I go, yeah, all right, I'm going to overlook a lot of the rest of the great stuff that I see from him. So it's very interesting that DJ has heard mixed remarks on Will Johnson enough to have him fall to number 15.
Yeah, I agree. I had someone actually while I was down here bring it up in a conversation. We were just going through all the position groups, and they said that is something amongst teams they're trying to figure out. That they don't know if he'll excel in man coverage at the next level was the exact phrase given to me. And I was like, really? Like, I know he was hurt this year, but in 2023, he looked like a guy that could play any coverage.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
We'll get back to corners, and I'll give like the real take from there. But I could move on to the next group unless you wanted to get into one of these other picks.
No, I mean, those are I think the Membu conversation with him at tackle or guard, I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people just go like, oh, yeah, he's a tackle. And again, when I first watched him, I thought he might be a guard. So he probably has some versatility there. The Jeanty talk, and then Will Johnson go to the Falcons. The Arizona Cardinals start off the next batch at number 16 with Jalen Walker, the linebacker from Georgia. Cincinnati Bengals go Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss. Seattle Seahawks at 18 going Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan. Tampa Bay Buccaneers going Jihad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama. And the Denver Broncos at number 20 going Nick Emanwari, South Carolina, safety at number 20. Where are we starting here? What do you want to talk about?
Almost want to start where it finished, right? We've talked about Walker a lot. Nolan, I think, had a great Senior Bowl week, and he looks like a top 20 kind of pick. I like Kenneth Grant a lot without spoiling the IDL episode, but man, like Emanwari, we haven't done safeties yet, Trevor, so I'm not sitting here and going, how is this possible? But it's not a name I expected to read when I opened the first round mock draft, and 20 is definitely as early as we've ever seen him. So DJ always has a few of these guys every year where he's like a month ahead of the consensus, consensus of forecasting.
And we saw this from Dane Brugler as well when he was kind of towards the end of the college football season. Dane was really talking up Emanwari and made it sort of seem like he was in the conversation to be a first-round pick. And Emanwari had a phenomenal season. I remember watching him over summer scouting. I was like, man, I don't know. I kind of feel as though he's just a box safety type of a player. I wondered if his long-term spot in the NFL was more of like as a linebacker. And I think that could still be the case. But DJ writes in here, Emanwari gave me some Derwin James vibes when I studied him. Now, Emanwari is massive.
Lofty.
Right. Now, Emanwari is massive, and he's an incredible athlete. I don't see the fluidity with him that I saw with James. James had size, speed, tackling, but he also moved like a corner. Like he had cornerback fluidity. I don't see that. I at least before we go through final evals, I did not see that with Emanwari, even from his best plays that we saw from him being an impact player this season. So somebody who I figured would probably be in the top 50 because of how well he was able to play and how big of a freak athlete he is at his size at the safety position. But 20 is the earliest that I have seen him. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, you got to be able, I think if you're that kind of player, though, you have to be able to play traditional safety on the back end to go this high.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like the player, but you really have to be that do-it-all kind of guy to go at 20. So we'll see if teams view him and project him that way. I think when you look at Jihad Campbell at 19, that's an interesting one, too. We haven't done the linebacker show since summer, but he notes just the character with Campbell. is really a big, big win for him, that they just loved his leadership at Alabama. And if you're a linebacker prospect and you want to go in the first round, like, you really need to have just size, you need to have instincts, athleticism, and you even need to be the guy in the middle of the defense calling the plays. And obviously Campbell at 19 he's viewed as that kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't think that Levante David's going anywhere. I think that he's either retiring or he's coming back to play for the Buccaneers. But the linebacker position was definitely a tough area for them with Servassier Dennis, going down with injury. I still think you can get a guy like Jahad Campbell, and he could play off-ball linebacker for you. He could play a little bit of edge rusher for you. He'll have a former teammate in Chris Braswell, who they drafted last year, who they're hoping to develop. And I think, myself included, I think a lot of people forget that Chris Braswell is on this roster, and so he could develop into a big-time pass rush player for them, like he was able to develop at Alabama. And if you get Jahad Campbell in there, he's built very uniquely. Now, unlike Jalen Walker, who I've talked about and had criticism of before, who goes at 16, who I want to kind of transition to and touch on here, I think Campbell actually gives you some instincts and natural off-ball playmaking ability when it comes to drop coverages and man coverage against tight ends. I don't see that with Walker. And specifically for the Cardinals, I would have gone Mike Green here, like, no question about it, with him still being on the board for Arizona. Shout out to Arizona Cardinals fans who rightfully held me in check the last time we did the mock draft episode, because I was like, I think the Cardinals are pretty good at edge. They're really not. I thought about how the fact that they already have Zaven Collins, they've got BJ Ojulari, but Ojulari's been hurt the last couple of years. Collins, a 5-sack guy. He's a former off-ball guy who they've moved to the edge. They still need much more juice on the edge. And I just don't know if Walker's going to be that player. And I hate to be the guy who always is like, whoa, let's pump the brakes on Walker. But again, I think he's much closer to a preferred second round, really good athlete, second level defender than he is a premium asset type of a pass rusher player that it feels like we've seen him with mock drafts. So I understand where we're going here with the Cardinals, but I'm not this much of a Jalen Walker guy to see him at 16, especially when guys like James Pierce Jr. and Mike Green, much more proven pass rushers, are still here on the board.
Totally agree. We had Jalen Walker falling all the way to 30 to the Bills in our mock draft, for context.
Yeah.
And there's really good pass rushers on the board here, where Arizona needs, like, enough of the linebacker projects for Arizona.
Yes,
just take a player that you know what he is.
Yep.
They can't keep doing that. So yeah, that was one of my least favorite picks personally. Want to go to 20? Want me to read 21 to 25?
Yeah. I mean, Bengals great pick with Walter Nolan.
Give your pipes a break.
Sure. Bengals great pick with Walter Nolan 17.
This
Seahawks
is perfect.
Yeah, great pick.
Nolan.
Kenneth Grant, I think. Well,
credit to Nolan, man. He had a great year.
Shoot, actually, Kenneth Grant to Seattle's interesting.
The only reason I didn't talk about it is because our IDL episode is coming up very soon.
All right, we'll get into it.
But we can if we want. I don't care.
No.
You already spoiled Shutter Island. Why don't you just ruin the rest of our show?
No. You're the guy who's ruining the teasers. I'll give you one. I'll give you a little teaser here. You can hear the Kenneth Grant.
Vince gets married at the end of Entourage, by the way, to a chick he knew for like 4 days.
All right, we got to stop this, or people are gonna stop listening
4
days. To our show.
She's a journalist, like, interviewing him, and then it's like, you want to get married? And then Sloane comes back with E because she's pregnant, and Ari picks up the phone after the credits to come back to the agency world.
I haven't seen Entourage, so.
No! What?
I'm not a big show guy anyways, so.
No, that's fine. It's fine. It's you missed the window, so it's fine. I actually don't. I'm trying to convince myself what I did is just taboo. I'm not a big show guy.
The best part about it
is, it's like saying I don't like listening to music.
The best part about it is, if I ever start Entourage, I won't remember anything that you just said. You won't. And
honestly,
it doesn't mean anything to me right now, so I won't remember.
Let me be fair. The build up to the end of Entourage is not like the Nightwalkers in Game of Thrones. Like, you're not like, oh my god, what's gonna happen in the last episode of Entourage? You kind of just start every episode as it's a new thing. So you're okay.
I'm not really a big show guy. The only show I'm really into right now is Severance. And Severance is good.
I mean, Severance is the greatest thing on television right now.
Yeah, it's incredible. Anyways,
Ben Stiller is maybe a genius. All right, so...
Yeah, you can read the next 5.
All right. The Steelers at 21 take Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas. So he ends up being, technically, if you count Travis Hunter as a wide receiver, the third wide receiver taken in this draft with Emeka Egbuka still on the board. 22, the Chargers take Colston Loveland, the Michigan tight end that Jim Harbaugh knows a thing or two about. 23, the Packers take Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M defensive lineman, edge player, because of course they do, as DJ literally writes so eloquently in this. The Packers love front 7 players from the SEC with outstanding traits. That is Shamar Stewart.
Yeah.
24, the Minnesota Vikings. Malachi Starks. I think we should talk about him, Trevor. He's the Georgia safety. And 25, the Houston Texans actually take Luther Burden, the wide receiver from Missouri, who ironically DJ comps to Stephon Diggs.
I love the wide receiver spots. I think Houston...
Me too.
Has a lot of interior offensive line needs, but I genuinely think they're going to address a lot of that in free agency. Or at least the offensive line is going to have new faces that they can feel good about taking whoever they need to at number 25. Wide receiver, I mean, Stephon Diggs is a free agent. Tank Dell, I hope he comes back fully healthy, of course, but who knows after that knee injury. And so right now it's just Nico Collins, and that's kind of it. So I would love Luther Burden there at number 25. I don't think this is crazy as some people might make it out to be. Pittsburgh Steelers getting Matthew Golden. I think that's absolutely perfect. But yeah, let's talk about Malachi Starks going 24. What do you think?
Once again, I hate that I keep doing the caveat, like, we have to do the safety show. But I watched Starks over summer, and I thought he was a good player. I didn't know if I aligned that he was a great player. And when you're a great player, like at safety, you have to be a great player to go in the top 10. Mm-hmm. And I am not sitting here and saying he's not a first rounder because there's so much to like about him. But DJ nails it. In 2024, if Starks wanted to be this like top 10, top 12 pick, he needed to make a lot of plays that changed the game. And he was kind of just steady Eddie, it felt like, most of the time. So Starks is somebody that can handle so many roles on the back end for you, which that's going to help you a lot. And the Vikings need help on the back end, so I love this fit. But yeah, I don't know if he did enough as a game-changing safety to warrant being a top 15 selection. And it's kind of fascinating. Imagine telling somebody, Trev, before the year, hey, Nick Amanawari could go ahead of Malachi Starks. I think they'd look at you and think you're absolutely insane.
I didn't even think of that, and you're right. And so even from what I saw of Malachi this summer, I wouldn't do that. Like I would have Malachi going higher than this. I've talked about Malachi Starks going to the Indianapolis Colts at 14. I've talked about him going to the Cincinnati Bengals at 17. I think those are two
the
really
Dolphins because they're going to let Holland walk.
Could be Dolphins if yeah. It sounds like they're going to let Holland walk, or at least that's the vibes that we're kind of getting right now. We're not like breaking any news or anything, but to me, I think that Malachi's lack of production here in 2024 is much more of a product of playing the safety position. And just there are some years where you don't have the chance to make as many plays on the ball. I think a lot of people very clearly knew who Malachi Starks was going into this year, and they probably just didn't want to mess with it at all whatsoever. So to me, I know we saw a little bit differently with this player, and it'll be fascinating to see kind of how his career pans out. But we saw him a little bit differently in terms of the value. I was higher on him than you were, but this mock aligns closer to what you kind of thought during summer scouting when we initially talked about these guys. And certainly with a more quiet 2024, it doesn't really give you reason to sort of get off of that. So I'm excited to see how we both feel after we get to the safety episode, which we'll get to kind of in a couple of weeks. Shamar Stewart makes a lot of sense for the Green Bay Packers, who need to get better up front, better pass rushing. Colston Loveland, obviously, I feel like it's an easy connection there with the Los Angeles Chargers. So We'll do an extended one. We'll go 26 all the way through 32. But before we get to do that, what's your child's future success look like to you? Maybe it's a child that they're passionate about, maybe traveling the world.
Pro athlete.
Pro athlete that I get to coast off of their career and never have to work again, of course. You can
Prodigy at playing the cello.
You can make it easier to achieve with a kids investment account for Fabric by Gerber Life. By making a contribution to your child's future today, you can give them that help to pursue their means, which of course are your means, both big and small. Fabric by Gerber Life, designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With a kids investment account for Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. Kids can't invest while they're minors, but this kids investment account allows you to invest on their behalf and gives their investments more time to grow. Whole thing's online, very easy to set up. Could take you as little as 5 minutes, and then you can just manage it right from your phone. Funds can be used for anything, to baseball tournaments, pitching lessons, hitting lessons, AAU ball, whatever they need to do to set themselves up as a pro athlete to where you can coast just for the rest of your life, or plenty of other things as well. Starts with just $20, no contribution limits. Tax advantages: your funds are SIPC insured up to $500,000. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child's future today at meetfabric.com/stock exchange. It's meetfabric.com/stock exchange. MEET. Fabric.com/stock exchange. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Learn more at meetfabric.com. All right, you want to bring us home? 26 through 32?
I'd love to.
Go ahead.
By the way, when I was packing my suitcase, instead of saying, did I pack enough boxers, I said to my wife, did I pack enough meat fabric?
Yeah.
For the week.
Yeah. And then she
said, please leave.
Very, very quickly left the room and didn't say anything. And that's the last time you spoke.
Yes, she said, I'm praying your flight is on time. Actually, if it's early, that'd be awesome for all of us here.
Yeah,
all right,
26. Your flight's at 6 a.m.? Yeah, okay, all right, get out of here.
Yep. Yeah, you're going to pull the Tampa Bay tray and spend 25 hours at the airport.
You might as well just go tonight, actually. Just, go ahead and, make sure you're there early enough.
Hang out, find a good spot. Find a good spot, bring a book, have dinner plan, make 3 dinner reservations at terminal whatever.
Be the last person at Chili's and the first person at, Chili's. Yeah.
Yep. Just keep ending up at Chili's. All right, 26, the Rams. Josh Connerly, the Oregon tackle.
I love that.
We'll get to that
love
one
that
in a
pick.
Yeah, me too. That's just a phenomenal
because he gets
pick.
a little bit of time to develop. You don't have to throw him out there right away.
I think Connerly got the worst of the Senior Bowl, where it's like he got whooped on one spot at right tackle, which he didn't even play, by Mike Green. And everybody's like, oh, man, UDFA. And it's like Josh Connerly did a lot of really good things at the Senior Bowl. So I think that I liked seeing him in the first round here. I think he's a good player. 27, the Baltimore Ravens take Florida State corner Azariah. It's Azariah Thomas, right?
Azaria.
Yeah. I knew we were close. That is a cool name.
I know.
Azaria.
He's great.
He sounds like the print. He sounds like a Zelda character or the prince that was promised. Azaria.
It's intimidating when you look at it, but it is a dope name. There's no, especially for a corner.
Name.
For a corner, it's a dope name.
Yes, Azaria Thomas. Unbelievable. 28, Mike Green, the pass rusher from Marshall. I am biased, but if Mike Green makes it to 28, what are we doing? 29, the Washington Commanders. Josh Simmons, Ohio State offensive tackle, very talented player, and the Commanders need offensive line help. Love that pick. 30, the Bills. Derek Harmon having a phenomenal year for Oregon. The big defensive tackle, got to do a little bit of everything. TJ Sanders, the South Carolina defensive tackle. He goes to the Eagles at 31. You could start to feel where the D-line, like the depth of the D-line class, they're just flying off the board. And 32, how about this, Trevor? The Chiefs get James Pierce, the pass rusher from Tennessee.
We got to pack it in.
We can't let this happen.
No, we got to pack it in. No, we got to rig the draft. You and I got to go behind the scenes and rig the draft.
Yeah, we got to pull some buttons.
We'll do it. We'll do it for America. By the way, can I just start at 31? I love this because if people who have been listening to this podcast for at least over a year, one, shout out to you. We'd love you guys. 2, you'll remember that towards the end of last year's college football season, I remember on this show shouting out, hey, this number 90 dude for South Carolina is pretty damn legit, TJ Sanders. And then obviously he didn't declare. And so, he came back to school. And I figured that he wouldn't because he was a little bit young. He was what would have been one of the youngest prospects at the time. And then he came back this year, and the D-line around him was stacked, but he still played very, very well. And I just love it. This is more of I can tell from his analysis, this is a DJ pick here. He says, there's not been a lot of buzz for Sanders, but I thought his tape was outstanding. He's really twitchy, would fit with a bevy of talent of defensive linemen in Philly. So love the shout out to get TJ Sanders in there. And I won't say a spoiler, but I'll just say like a little appetizer for the interior defensive line episode. I've been kind of a critic of Derek Harmon. I feel like I've been lower on him than most people throughout this draft process. I've still always thought that he was a good football player. There were just some people who were like, wow, like he's, again, a first-round caliber prospect. I just finished his final eval. I see it. I see it. And yeah, I will dig into exactly why it has taken me a little bit more time to get here and more comfortable with it, because he's not a perfect prospect. And I'll get into that a lot more when we get into the interior defensive line episode. But I will say, late first, early second round, yeah, we're here. We're absolutely here. And I could totally see that one happening.
So back to TJ Sanders, and I agree with you on Harmon. The way you felt about him for a while is kind of how I feel sometimes about Omar Norman Lott, where I'm like, it's a tough class to, like, I don't know. We'll get to all the IDL stuff really soon. It's going to be a deep breakdown. So TJ Sanders, I bring up some Matthew Berry theories on this show, like the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I have another one here. Okay. He's a big believer that names matter. Like, guys, sometimes you just need a cooler name to get more notoriety.
I love Matthew Berry, man. He's a
gem, and he loves you.
Gem.
He really every time he sees you, he's so excited to tell me he saw you. This is a really good theory, and I'm going to steal it for TJ Sanders. Like, if TJ Sanders' name was Bull Rush McIntyre, do you think he'd be in the top 20 of every mock draft? But instead he's TJ Sanders. So it's like, Eagles at 31, and this is good for him. He's a good player.
TJ Sanders is a good football player name.
It's solid. It's not Azariah Thomas. Like the prince that was promised. Azariah. I'm going to keep, oh my God, I'll get better. Malachi Starks.
Malachi Starks is a sick name.
Colston Loveland.
Great
Jihad
name.
Campbell.
Great name.
Jahdae Barron.
You know what we need?
Ashton Jeanty. Armand Membu.
You know what we need to do?
T-Mac. Teteroa McMillan.
We need to do
TJ Sanders.
An entire mock draft.
Names.
Of just the best name. Or I don't know if it needs to be a mock draft. Probably a big board. Like, okay, here's our top 20, and it's just names in the 2025
by position. The best name for every position.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah,
Abdul Carter.
Look, Abdul Carter as your number one edge rusher. Yeah, it's sick. Travis Hunter.
Donovan Ezeraku.
Great
name.
Bull Rush McIntyre would have been sick. There's no doubt about it.
If I get to talk to him at the Combine, if he's on my interview list, I'm going to pitch him on Bull Rush McIntyre.
Bull Rush McIntyre. Yeah.
Like, listen.
Yeah.
2 ways for you to be a top 10 pick. You change your name to Bull Rush McIntyre, and you take anabolic steroids. Done.
There it is.
The stock exchange consulting firm wins again.
That's it. It always does. Undefeated. Never lost. Us and DJ Khaled. Never lost. Not one time.
Never lost.
You say to TJ Sanders, hey, TJ, have you ever thought about going by meat fabric? And he goes, what? And you go, all right, here we go. 3, 2, and 1. All right, everybody. Welcome into...
it's unbelievable stuff.
So,
oh, my goodness.
Bull Rush McIntyre, lasting to 31, is actually just, it's criminal at that point that he would last that long. Obviously, yeah, the Chiefs getting James Pierce Jr. would be awesome to see. You know, the last thing that I kind of want to touch on is when DJ has Josh Simmons going 29 to the Commanders. He does not talk about his injury in the little blurb.
No.
And I think that's interesting. Commanders' offensive line play has played well above expectations, but I think they need to upgrade their talent to protect Jaden Daniels going forward. Now, I'm not trying to just look into something like way too hard here, but Simmons' injury to me is a big part of who he is as a prospect, because he got hurt and he missed most of the season after 5.5 games due to a knee injury. But as far as I'm concerned, I have not been able to confirm exactly what that is. Is this an ACL tear? Is this a PCL tear? Is it a patellar tear? Like,
I'll tell you when we hang up.
These are different things. And so
you're 100% right.
And that's why it's like, I feel like DJ maybe would have given us a little bit of a nugget there if it was still something that NFL teams were really worried about. And again, maybe I'm looking way too far into it, but I just thought that was interesting that he didn't mention the injury at all whatsoever.
Right, and this mock draft has no Savon Ravel, the corner from ECU.
Yep.
It has no Benjamin Morrison, the corner from Notre Dame. Like
Yep.
we are waiting for injury news related to those guys, and some people I've talked to here are fully in agreement with us that those guys have a wide range of outcomes because of those injuries at the position they play.
Were they wearing white doctor coats? Because if they weren't, then I don't believe them.
That's very fair. Just walking around.
Yeah.
Radio Row.
Yeah.
I'm a licensed physician. That was my Halloween costume this year.
Would you just
I was an online doctor. All I did at NBC was give out injury advice. None of it was accurate.
Did you get some good candy? Walking around the neighborhood in your white coat?
Oh, no, I didn't go trick-or-treating. I got to watch
yeah,
Jets
sure.
Texans.
Yeah. No, of course. Right. Yeah.
I'd never at 30, in my 30s. Oh, my God.
How many Reese's did you get? No, we'll talk about that off air. All right, there we go, everybody. Appreciate everybody watching and listening to the show.
Thank you for the nonsense. There was a lot of nonsense today.
There was.
Because we haven't seen each other, so we had to use the show to get the nonsense out.
Long
Sorry,
weeks.
everyone.
We're loopy at this point.
Oh my God.
And I'm here for another
home in weeks.
4 days.
No, you're not going to survive. There's no way.
Yeah, this is my last show.
It's been fun.
Dude,
co-host tryouts begin Monday.
I don't know.
Just open a Zoom link.
I don't know if you
list your height and weight.
If you went into the comments lately for the last episode, so the reason why Connor didn't pop on for the last episode is, one, I was just trying to knock it out really quick, and he was doing NBC stuff, so he wasn't able to do it. But if you go into the comments, a lot of people are like, "Did you kill Connor? Like, is Connor dead?" It was also a lot of people being like, "Does this mean I can apply for the podcast? I'm 6'4", 240, so."
Incredible.
I'm
back.
You gotta watch out. Nah, he's back.
Much to the chagrin of the listeners hoping to get their crack.
We would love to hear what you thought on Daniel Jeremiah's mock. And even what we've been hearing as of late with the NFL draft and where these guys are going up and down. We'd love to hear your thoughts on our thoughts. As always, best way to do that, youtube.com/NFL Stock Exchange. We would also love if you follow the channels on Instagram and TikTok. We have some new accounts there as well. We would love for you guys to follow us there. We do a lot of short form content there, so obviously this is where the long form stuff lives, but some shorter form stuff happening over there. We'd appreciate your support there. I can't show it to you guys yet, but we got hats. We bought hats. They're not coming for like a few weeks, but everybody out there who, when we first sort of were like, "Hey, would you guys want hats?" And a lot of you were like, "Hell yeah, we would love hats." We finally got hats for the show. They're hopefully going to be here in, I don't know, guys. Honestly, it might be like a month. It might be like 4 or 5 weeks.
So it's custom.
It's going to be a while. Yeah, they're custom show hats. And I will look into how the best way to do this is going to be possible. I'm just letting you know right now, the first batch of hats, it's not a ton, because quite frankly, we didn't know how many people were going to want hats.
Right.
And so if we sell out immediately, trust me, we will absolutely buy
do it
more.
again.
We would love for everybody who watches and listens, subscribe to have one of these hats. We'll tell you about pricing and design and everything later, but the hats are coming, so we just want to shout that out as well. If you're audio only, you can hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at Tampa Bay Trey, at Connor J. Rogers, or any of those social platforms if you don't have anything on YouTube. So, Connor, anything else before we get out of here?
No, man, fun show today. Always, really appreciate the work of others in this industry. So shout out to Daniel Jeremiah. We got to kind of nitpick away at his mock draft. We like doing a couple of these a year, and it's a grind. So shout out to them. Always brings really good new info. And you and I eventually next week will be home doing shows. So back to positional rankings.
Yep. I'd love to do a collab mock with DJ at some point. I feel like he's the busiest dude in the world after the combine.
He is. I'll try to throw it at him soon.
All right.
So maybe he could actually, or at least hey, you want to do the first 10 picks with us because you have a crazy job and need to leave instead of being on a Zoom
and a family,
with us idiots for 4 hours.
People forget about that part. He's actually a family man as well. He does all this draft stuff and
we'll
has
try.
a family. All right.
We'll try.
We'll try to do it. We'd love to do it. We'd love to get to do one live with DJ because he's absolutely the best. So go follow all of his great work. The Movies This Takes podcast, everything on NFL.com, all that good stuff. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Connor Rogers. Thanks so much for watching and listening to the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. See you guys next time.